My name is Matt Moore. I'm a property manager at 1836, and I manage one of Jeoffri's properties. We're trying a new kind of video that is kind of a mix between a client testimonial and one of our storytime videos. So you guys can get to hear an owner's perspective and a unique experience that they learned from. So hopefully you'll find this helpful, and I'll just go ahead and let you introduce yourself, Jeoffri.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jeoffri Davis. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Matt. I was living in the Austin, Texas area. I've been working for a company called Logic Monitor for quite a few years. They're incredible. Check them out as well. And fortunately, 1836 has been helping me manage a property that I moved out of there in Austin, Texas. It's been a great experience.
Sweet. So can you tell me a little bit about your portfolio and what your investment goals are in real estate and just your general goals as an investor?
Yes. So real estate, I'm still really dipping my toes in. So I have one single family home, which is what 1836 is helping me manage. And I am currently in another house right now as my primary residence. We'll see where that leads later down in the future. And I do invest also in stocks and bonds. I have other more abstract investments, like investing in yourself, learning foreign languages, and considering to be an entrepreneur and things like that, studying, tech skills, leveraging tech skills to do freelance work. So I'm kind of investing in a few different ways.
You kind of fit the mold for most of the clients that we work with. Most of our clients don't have too many real estate properties. They'll have, 1 to 3 properties that they own, and they're not like massive real estate investors, but they're dabbling into it, and they have a lot of other stuff going on as well. So what do you think led you to hiring a property manager? Is it because you have a lot going on and find yourself, too busy, don't want to necessarily deal with the weeds? What led you to property management?
So one of the easiest reasons that I hired property management was that I am very much not a handyman. I'm good at working my brain. I'm not very good at working my hands. And so I was very fortunate when I first found the property that I did. The previous owners took incredible care of it. And I just kind of did my best to live in it and not mess it up too badly. And then when I decided to rent it out, I really knew I was not going to be the one that they should call to do any maintenance. I was calling someone else to do maintenance on the property, right? And I also knew that I had a goal to really want a more flexible schedule. I did not want to be the type of person that was tied to coming into the office and doing a 9 to 5 all the time and having to always be in one place. I wanted to be able to step away from the house, be in a different city, be in a different state, a different country, maybe completely different side of the world, and not have someone, basically calling me up to do maintenance for the property. So I wanted to detach myself a little bit there. I wanted a lot of flexibility. I wanted freedom. And that wasn't something that I was initially positioned to do regardless of the house. It was something where I needed to take active steps in several different areas to make that possible for myself. So I definitely wanted that flexibility with my schedule. I also, of course, felt like I didn't really want to do the whole like Rolodex of vendors thing. I think that is also intimidating to me. Like if you're managing a property, you have to have all your ducks in a row in terms of who do you contact for what problems. So not only did I not want someone to call me, I also didn't want to be the one having to like call a bunch of other people and go through a whole laundry list of, well, who is available right now, what plumber, and something like that. So I didn't want to do all of those things. And I think that like with property management, there's a lot of expertise, right? And this is my first house. I didn't have a ton of expertise when it came to real estate. So I definitely wanted to leverage all of that wisdom, know the best ways to go. And I'll be happy to dive more into the various conversations we had, around making different decisions around the property, because I definitely came in with a different mindset. And so it was important to recognize my own limitations, right? And that other people would be able to take this property and handle it in a much better way than I was going to be able to, just because of experience, right?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And it sounds like you've kind of learned a lot of stuff, a lot of the benefits from having a property manager since you've been with us. And you've been with us for a while, but what initially brought you to 1836 out of all the property managers in Austin?
So I'm smiling because there was not a ton of research. So I knew that I was not going to necessarily understand everything, and so it was actually out of a recommendation from a coworker at the time, and I trusted him. He worked in sales, and he was a very honest person, and I was like, that's a powerful combination. And he recommended you guys. He's a client, or was at the time. I don't know if he still is. And he had an incredible experience with you guys. Like, just could not recommend you guys strongly enough. And so I actually didn't do a huge look. I came to 1836, and I think the initial contact was maybe an email or something like that. And then I think we followed up with a phone call, and everyone was incredibly pleasant. That you guys broke things down for me for so much I didn't understand. You were not opposed to repeating things and breaking things down for someone who was very new to the whole process. And the management fees they seemed very fair. I haven't had any concerns there. And so to me, I just didn't really have a reason to look much further. I felt like I was going to be entering more into a partnership with people that I knew I could trust. And that was really important to me. Like, having good personalities, having good people has always been important to me. And so through this other person that was already a good person, I found a group of good people to work with. That's how that works.
That's great to hear. Yeah, we definitely appreciate referrals. And I think it's one of the best ways to kind of transition and start that relationship is when an owner investor knows kind of what they're expecting out of property management, because it's what they've been told from their friend or someone they know, an acquaintance, and then we know what we're expecting too in that relationship, because it kind of goes both ways. And so it's good when it's word of mouth. I think we get off to a good start and have a good relationship. So that's cool to hear. So you touched on this a little, but let's go ahead and start talking about the actual story time part. So you've been with us for a while, but recently I think we had a good learning experience for both of us when we started the turnover process for your property. So can you kind of just go over that and summarize your side of the experience?
Yes. So I actually have taken some notes on this whole experience. I'm going to be referencing some of those. So like we did the turnover process, or actually, is it okay if I speak about like the initial getting tenants into the house and then going through changing tenants? Yeah. Okay. Then awesome. When we first started, like I was saying, I didn't really know much of anything. I was just like, I think I want city life. I have all these goals, source of income, all these things, I want to do all these things, and I don't know how to make it all happen. And so, referred to you guys. I move out of the house. I think you guys were, of course, with your experience, you're far more ready to move quickly than I was. I think it took me like a whole month or two or something to get moved out of the house after I first engaged with you guys. And so we were going to get tenants in, and I actually had initially made the decision to leave my furniture in the house. And one of the first things that you guys advised me on was to not do that. That was one of my first experiences of, hey, 1836 is trying to help me out here and advise me, right? They're bringing this experience. And so you guys had to break it down for me and explain, if I left my furniture in the house, that could be considered a liability if the tenants were to get injured on my furniture. And that was something that I just never would have thought of ever. In all of the friends and family that I talked to, none of them had thought of that either. So that was one of the very first experiences where you guys really saved me, because who would want a lawsuit like that? So that was incredible. So I ended up donating that furniture to charity and did, like a small tax claim or something, nothing huge on that. Because it's mostly out of, hey, I'm not going to use it anyway. So, did that. That was one of the very first experiences. You guys helped do the whole like make ready, and moved incredibly quickly there. Another decision that you guys made that turned out to be a right one that I would not have made is you guys repainted the inside. You changed the colors to be more neutral, more uniform across the house. Whereas originally the house was lively. It had vivid colors, like the kitchen was red. The living room was like this ocean sea breeze blue. And when I say it out loud, I think this sounds tacky and gaudy, but it was quite nice in person. But you guys changed that. And that turned out to be, it was the right move, right? It was marketable. And these are things that, again, like I would not have thought about. And so the very next thing that happened, again, you guys helped me out. The timing, I don't remember what all affected the timing other than me taking a while to move out, but you guys had to work through an experience where I think that year some type of weather or something changed the school year start time. I think it was earlier than usual. And so we ran into a situation where this year was exceptional in terms of the market and people looking to rent versus own houses, and also when they were looking to execute on that. And so because of me taking some time to move out of the house, then the make ready and the school year starting, you guys actually ran into a challenge, or we all ran into the challenge where people weren't biting on the listing at first. And I was eager to get someone in. I was like, let's just plummet the price or something. And you guys had more patience, right? You guys were like, no, we've been through this, wait a little bit. And so we ended up waiting, and we got someone in like the middle of the school year when I didn't even think that was possible. And so you guys were right. Once again, like building the trust, building your track record. So fast forward, we had this turnover, right? I think this has been maybe the second tenants. Another amazing thing, another service that you guys provide, obviously, is you guys find the tenants, you do the background checks. I don't have to worry about that. And you guys have found awesome tenants. I haven't had to worry about them tearing the property up. I haven't had to worry about them like a high turnover rate, because we're looking specifically for people that want to stay there long term. And so you guys have been handling that beautifully. We recently went through a turnover for these awesome tenants. Unfortunately, they were moving on to other things, and that's all fine. It happens. But you guys were, again, ready to execute quickly. You were cleaning the property up. I sent in a fan for you guys to install on the second floor, which you did quickly. But there were other things I was considering, where I considered doing things like installing a whole home purification system, right? And this turned into this whole big ordeal where it's like you've got to knock out drywall and install this water loop. And of course, while you guys were willing to be accommodating, that was going to take time where there are not tenants in the house. And, that's potentially eating into my source of income, right? And so we ended up making a decision not to go in that direction. And I ultimately made that choice, but it was great having you guys part of that process and your willingness to work alongside that, look at all the different quotes. Again, like working as a partnership. It's not just I'm making decisions and you guys are taking orders and vice versa. I presented the idea. You guys said, okay, let's work with that. Let's see what we can do. What are you thinking? And so I presented different systems. You guys connected us with the vendor, and we got quotes and found out what all it would take to make it happen, and it turned out to not be feasible. And that happens. But great process. Other things that came up was when the tenants gave notice and you guys had completed the repairs and you posted the listing. I brought a different mentality, right? I was absolutely livid when I first saw the listing, and the whole experience became quite humbling and eye-opening. But I had this home buyer's mentality, right? This was my first house.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like, this is my baby. This was, I've saved up all this money. And while I didn't go in originally with this whole, I really want a house mentality, it was more so rent's crazy, so why not get a house? So I wasn't super emotionally attached, but it still meant a lot to me. And so when I saw the listing and I saw the description, I thought the description was thin. I saw the pictures, and the pictures, the house wasn't quite as clean as I would have liked. The floor still had some residue on it. There was maybe some dust around the AC vents. And I kid you not, I think that when I saw the email, it was maybe like 9 p.m., something like that. And I read through the description. I went through the photos. I think maybe it was 21 photos in the gallery. And I was livid. And I think I didn't end up sending my feedback to you guys until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And at that time, I had gone through every photo in the gallery, and I made a bulleted list with critiques for every single photo. I was asking for all of the pictures to be retaken. I asked to bring someone in and clean the whole house all over again, retake the pictures. I wanted the listing description updated. I actually had gone to the subdivision's website and pulled some bullet points from there, different amenities. I basically rewritten the description. I was doing the absolute most. I was like rolling up my sleeves figuratively, maybe even literally, and basically trying to step in and do that piece of the work for you guys, because I felt like you guys had dropped the ball. And that was just my honest feelings at the time. And you responded, actually, Matt, you were the one who responded, and you were very patient and professional through all of the correspondence, and you understood where I was coming from, but you guided me patiently and professionally to understanding renter versus home buyer mentality. Right. And that was something that I didn't get, right? I was coming in with the home buyer mentality. The renter is just looking to move more quickly. They're not looking for all of those details like I was. And so it was funny, because between the amount of time, looking back at the timeline, so the tenants had moved out into January, you guys very quickly jumped on getting the property ready for the next tenant. You guys are basically ready to go by February 17th, right? You set the expectation early that it would take about 2 weeks, and you basically nailed it. You were waiting on me, I think, to mail the fan, which I did, and you guys were finally able to finish it. And then you were waiting on me to say yes or no, go or no go on the whole home water purification, which we didn't do. And so the listing was posted on February 28th, is what I think it was. And and that's when I was livid. And then then by by March 3rd, we had agreed that there was actually one legitimate repair that needed to be taken care of. There was like an AC intake on the second floor. Yeah, that was hanging down a little bit. And so, we agreed we were going to fix that. I had calmed down. And let's see, after that, you guys let me know, another shout out to 1836 and your amazingness, is that you guys let me know, like, you reviewed the different services I was paying for. It turned out I was paying for extra things I didn't even need to pay for. There were things like internet that I was paying for originally on the property because I wanted to be grandfathered into a high-speed plan that was going to be supposedly going away. We reviewed all those things, and we reviewed the lease again and found out there were things I was paying for that I just didn't need to anymore. So that was also awesome. So that was around like March 7th. And then by March 8th, very next day, I just could not accept the quality of 2 of the photos, I think in particular, with the nicer flooring. And so I wanted those floors cleaned, and I wanted you to retake the photos. And the very next day, I think, is when we had somebody sign a lease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect
So
timing.
perfect timing.
And there's one word in particular that you said that I think is a good summary. So guiding. It was a guiding experience on my side.
Yes.
And this is just a perfect example of kind of what we experience all the time with investors, is because it's your investment property. You spent a lot of time and effort into purchasing the property, putting work into it. Maybe before you hired us, maybe you had a tenant, so you put your heart and soul into this property. And I was telling you, I would have felt the exact same way. I was actually impressed by the amount you put in at the ungodly hours of the night to review our listing, make sure it was, up to your satisfaction. But my job as the property manager is to look out for you and kind of guide you and remind you that you got to treat it like a business. This is your investment property, and of course you care about it, but you've trusted us to care about it. And so in publishing the listing, we've already gone through and know what the industry standards are and what renters expect. So I think one of the things I mentioned to you was that when people are looking for a property, they really just look at the first 3 pictures and they've already made up their mind before even going through the rest of the list. So while you've reviewed and made sure each picture was perfect, most people aren't even going to get to the 4th picture. And same goes for the description. A lot of things that you might have wanted to add aren't necessary because people want it to be clear and concise. Today, people just don't have the attention span that a home owner does, especially when it comes to a renter or renting. Maybe a homeowner would look that in detail into a listing, but even renters will have a less of a attention span, or we just know what they're looking for. So I think it was a good opportunity to kind of guide you in the right direction, remind you that it's a business, not your own home. So I definitely respect and appreciate the work and care you put into it. But it was just awesome to see. We didn't do anything that really by the time it was
Yeah. And I mean, in the price that we were listing at, so it was nice, right? Having, I know the news around Tesla and everything is like mixed, but as soon as Tesla like moved into the Austin area, real estate shot up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this time when we listed the property, it was far more than when I first came to you guys.
Yep.
And so another thing I was, upset about was we're listing it for so much more now. It should be this higher quality. And I was stuck on that. I was stuck on even the ordering. You mentioned the ordering of the pictures and they're not going to go past the first 4. I wanted the pictures reordered because I was thinking, if someone's, again, home buyer mentality, someone is going to want to logically progress through the photos and be able to walk the house mentally. And it turned out that's not true. It's, so
it's really just put the 3 best looking pictures first. That's at least and honestly, it's because tenants will be looking through so many different properties and they're smart enough to kind of make up their mind. So it's not even that they don't care, it's that they've seen so many listings that they know what they're looking for. So I'm glad we were able to get someone in, and it really didn't take too much effort after we first listed it. So that was great. Okay, so to summarize everything, do you think you have peace of mind in partnering with 1836 after this experience and being with us for a while? Do we give you peace of mind?
Yeah. Yes. It's been a great experience. I'm not in the city anymore. So when I first moved out the house, I actually didn't trust enough. I still stayed pretty nearby. The house was about 40 minutes more north of where I moved. But I was still in the city, right? I was still around. And eventually I left the state, and eventually I, traveled to different countries, and I just get to go do my thing and trust that you guys are going to take care of the property. So it's definitely better. This was a scary, but a great learning experience. And it has actually just built the trust even further.
That's great. And so you trust us, we give you peace of mind. Have we brought you closer to your goals as an investor?
Yes. There's, of course, the portfolio is not just real estate, but absolutely, yes. You know, you guys run comps, you give recommendations in terms of what we want to list the property at. You guys give recommendations in terms of what's worth investing more money in to fix up versus not. Because again, I'm coming in with the home buyer mindset, and I'm like, everything needs to be top of the line. Let's redo every light fixture and replace every appliance and all of these things. And that's counterproductive to, you know, investing and building up your wealth. If you don't need to go that far, then it's not necessarily good to take that step. So you guys absolutely have helped me get closer, because I've been able to take money that I would have put into things like that may not have been appreciated or a best investment. I've been able to take that and put that money elsewhere and get better returns on that. So it's been great. Yes.
That's awesome. And final question, would you recommend us to your friends or family or other investors?
Yes, this has actually already happened. I've already recommended you guys.
Well, that's the best answer we could get for that question. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And
No problem referring you guys.
That's full circle where we started, because you were recommended. So I'm sure that
Yeah.
the investor you recommended will have a great relationship with us, and look forward to working with them.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much, Jeoffrey. I look forward to, you know, continuing our working relationship, and hopefully we don't have to make any changes next time either.
That's right. Next time I may be in a completely different country when we have a conversation and just sipping on something nice.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Have a good one.